The word of the year for 2024 is manifest. Not sure if you heard this, but I found it very fascinating because the title of this podcast is The Manifesting Entrepreneur. And I've been really focused on talking about how you can use manifestation within your business and within your money. A lot of people talk about manifestation with relationships, with love, with manifesting your dream life, which all those things are beautiful. But I really want to focus in on manifestation specifically for those of you who are entrepreneurs. And so I thought it was just very fitting that that was the word of the year because it's been looked up so many times. And while manifestation I think has been sort of this buzzword for a really long time, it's definitely creating more of a momentum right now where people are really catching on to the power of their actions, their intentions, the fact that you can set something that you want, a goal, an intention, and move through taking the aligned action to bring it into your reality. You can take an idea and then you can manifest it. So I just thought that that was so powerful. And I wanted to talk about today because I'm recording this on November 26th, 2024. And I realized that it is an 8-day. So 2024, as you know, if you've been following along, it's all about abundance. It's all about that infinite abundance that we can bring into our life, into our work, into our business. And the fact that today is an 8-day, it felt very fitting to talk to you today about manifesting money and how you can really tap into the power of manifesting money into your work by the end of the year to really propel you into 2025, because we are really transitioning right now from an 8-year, which is all about abundance, audacious abundance, unlimited abundance, to leadership, in particular, divine feminine leadership. And this is all through the numerology, the energy of the numbers. And so I want to focus in today about where you are right now within your business and the steps that you can do to really tap into this. One powerful thing that I want to share with you, if you're new to me, I have created what's referred to as what I call the abundance archetypes. And this is a really powerful method pattern that I discovered working with female entrepreneurs that really helps you tap into your strengths when it comes to manifesting money. Because a lot of us are trying to manifest money in a way that is, in a sense, working against our natural strengths and our natural gifts. And so if this has been you, if you feel like you've been using manifestation tools that feel it just feels like there's a lot of resistance. It feels like things are not taking off the way they should. You feel like you're kind of coasting along. I would invite you to check out the Abundance Archetype Workshop. I will have it linked in the show notes. If you're listening to the podcast, it's in the show notes. If you're watching on YouTube, because I'm also doing a video version of the podcast, you can check it in the description. But with that being said, I really want to help you connect into your strengths and your gifts as a money manifester. Because like I said, a lot of us are trying to manifest in a way that's in a sense working against us. And a lot of times, a lot of, I would say, the mainstream are the things that we're seeing the most on social media for manifesting money, wealth, and abundance. It really speaks to a specific archetype where that is just their natural way to manifest money. And because it's sort of, I would say, the way that a lot of us really want to manifest money and we really are attracted to this style, we lead with this and then we wonder why we're having so much challenge and so much resistance. And it's because it's probably not our main way to manifest money. And you can definitely strengthen all of the archetypes. There are 5 archetypes, but it's really important for you to lead with the one that is your main archetype. So a lot of us, especially if you're drawn to this podcast, are in more of that leadership or maybe that teacher energy when it comes to manifesting money. Those are the ones that I see the most, spoiler alert. And like I said, as we are moving into this divine feminine year, we want to look at the attributes our natural attributes, our natural strengths when it comes to being a leader and when it comes to being a teacher. So with leadership, it's so vital for us to internally look at the way that we want to present ourselves to the world. And in a sense, when it comes to manifesting money, it's almost like you're the innovator. You are creating the unique channels to bring this money into your life, into your work. And a lot of times that can feel a little overwhelming because we're trying to do it in a way that's been taught to us or that's been shown to us. And if that strategy is not speaking to, in a sense, like the visionary that is you, that's why it's not working, because you're, in a sense, meant to create this avenue. And for a lot of us as leaders, it's really about creating this movement, this momentum, and getting people on board with this concept, with this idea, with this thing that we feel called to share. And that is going to be the most powerful way for you to bring money into your life. And so in a sense, it's you stepping up first, you rising above, and you saying, hey, this is the way. This is a new way. This is a new concept. It could also be an innovation of something that's already been created. So if there has been a strategy that you've been drawn to with bringing in money. So for example, let's say you've been doing one-on-one coaching. I'm in the coaching mentorship space, so it's the easiest way for me to explain it to you. You've been doing one-on-one coaching and that just feels kind of stifling, or you're not charging enough for one-on-one coaching to really be sustainable within your business. It's probably time for you to create a new pricing structure that hasn't been seen before. So this could be creating more of an elevated VIP one-on-one situation, instead of just kind of like, say, for example, you're charging $100 for one-on-one, but you're not really getting as many one-on-one clients as you like. What if you charged $1,000 or $10,000 or $25,000 for a one-on-one and created more of a unique experience for that person, more of a VIP experience? And you took what you're doing and you elevated it to this next level. And maybe you don't see anyone else doing that, but that's something that is really going to help, take you to the next level and really see you as an innovator within your space. Like it's up to you as the leader to create your space the way that you want it to be, not based on what you see that's already being done. And again, I just use that as an example, but of course it's up to you to craft it the way that you feel called to craft it. Another thing with the leader is, like I said, with the movement, creating a movement with a group of people that are not just playing at the standard that everyone else in sort of the coaching space or the mentorship is playing at, but playing at this new standard, and you set the tone, you set the standard. And so, like I said, you maybe haven't seen anyone else doing this before, or you've been modeling a different way where maybe you're creating. A really great way to describe this is like creating a membership site. And this is something I've seen honed in so much in the coaching space. And not that there's anything wrong with membership sites or anything like that, but they require a lot of energy, a lot of work. And a lot of times I think they've been positioned in a way where we think that that's the way. But really, when you take that membership and you think of it more as a movement, and you craft it in a different way, it's really like elevating the membership into something more, where the energy that you're putting into it and the financial compensation that you're setting for your movement, for your membership, it's in alignment with you being the leader and the innovator. And a lot of times what we're doing as leaders, as the wealthy leader, we're playing in this bucket that's not really necessarily seeing us as a leader. It's almost like it's been a facade. You're just kind of like a glorified admin of this group, and it's really draining you instead of really lifting you up. And so again, I'm just using these as examples because I'm in the coaching space. But however this looks for you, I'd invite you to journal on this. What are you doing in your business right now, and how can you innovate it, change it, increase the compensation in a way that you're going to receive in a way that makes sense for you? And so in addition to this, I touched on the leader because I see leadership a lot within a lot of you that I've worked with and I've connected with and who I know are listening to this podcast, you wouldn't be drawn to this podcast if you didn't identify in some form, shape, or form as a leader. So I'm here to remind you that you are meant to go first. You're meant to innovate. You're meant to change it up with whatever you're doing. Your memberships, your masterminds, your one-on-ones. If there's something that you're meant to do differently, and of course, I can't tell you what that is. It's up to you to really connect into that. I can definitely work with you to help guide you to this place, but it's really something within. The leader, it's all about this internally, what you feel called to share externally. And it's almost like listening to the whispers of your soul and bringing this forth. And, imposter syndrome has been coming up a lot. I did another episode talking about this, and I would invite you to listen to it if you haven't. But the imposter syndrome, really, what's another reason it's coming up for you is because your soul is very quiet. Your soul is a whisper, and your soul is calling you to be this leader, this spiritual entrepreneur. But because a lot of us have been conditioned and we've grown up in a space where we were told to go to school, get a good job, go to college, get a good job, live this 9-to-5 life. And there's nothing wrong with that if you are fulfilled and really invested in what it is that you're doing. But if that doesn't feel right, it's because subconsciously we believe that that's the way, even though our soul wants something more bigger for us. And so that is really, really connected into the leader, where a lot of times you're not stepping into that leadership role, especially when it comes to calling in money and to charging what you're supposed to be charging for your services and your offers, and really innovating your offers and your services within your business. It's because subconsciously you're still playing on that realm of, well, I have to do it this certain way. It's almost this conditioned response. And that's why there's a conflict, because your soul is saying, no, it's supposed to be this way. And so it's up to you to really embody that leader now. And like I said, abundance archetypes, take the wealthy workshop, really connect into this. I talk a little bit more about each of the archetypes, how you can strengthen all of them. But in addition to this, I know I touched on the teacher, because I know a lot of you are teachers. I think leadership, wealthy leader is definitely the one I see the most, but then the teacher. So the thing about the teacher, this is one that I identify with the most, which I feel like is why a lot of you also resonate with this. The teacher is meant to share their story, their gifts, their experiences, and teach other people through this. This is why I feel really called to podcasts. And I want to share the gift of podcasting with those of you who feel called also to share podcasts, because honestly, I feel like it's the most powerful, authentic, and just amazing way for us to get our voices out there is through podcasting. And I know I'm doing a video as well, but you don't have to do video. It can definitely just be your voice. But the thing about podcasting is it really strengthens and connects into your natural gift of being a teacher. And there's so many, I think, stereotypes and connotations with the teacher, because we think of it as like, elementary school teacher or working in the public school system or even private schools or anything of that nature. And that is part of it. But really the teacher, the core of being a teacher is really all about connecting into your story, your message, your awakening, and sharing it in a bold, powerful way for other people to learn from you. And then you're meant to receive compensation through this story, through this message, through your soul work, through honestly really connecting into those powerful ideas and earning money through your ideas. And this is why I truly believe the coaching space has exploded the way that it has, especially with female entrepreneurs. And then also just courses, creating courses, workshops, all of those things are so strongly connected into the teacher archetype. But what happens with the teacher is a lot of times we're teaching what other people are telling us to teach. And this is why a lot of you have come to me and you say, I've created this business, it's successful, but I don't feel connected and fulfilled within the work. It doesn't speak to my soul. And it's because you're probably teaching something that is not connected into the story and the message that you're meant to share. And that's why there's a disconnect. And so it's about really strengthening the fact that you are meant to earn and receive money through your story, through your experience. And so using myself as an example, my story has really been, I've created this I live in Hawaii. I've created this beautiful life. I manifested this beautiful life living in Hawaii. I was working remotely for an amazing tech startup that I love. I mean, I really manifested my dream job, my ideal, perfect dream job. But what happened with me is I started transitioning from more of this creative archetype into more of the spiritual leader. And I didn't feel like I could really express that through the job that I was doing, even though I had loved the job so much. It was so connected within. I honestly feel like it was really connected into my purpose for a really long time. But after a while, it just wasn't connected into my purpose anymore. It was time for me to do something different, but I felt so disconnected and honestly didn't know what it meant to really step up as a spiritual leader, because I think even with spiritual leadership, there's this idea of how it needs to be. And so I resisted, I hesitated, I overthought, I was in my head. And then finally I said, no, I'm going to walk down this path. And it's been up and down, and it's been a lot of growth and learning and me just experiencing different things throughout my spiritual gifts, and it really expanding my spiritual gifts to really hone into the fact that I am a spiritual leader and that I meant to be a teacher and share my voice and receive compensation in this way. And so a lot of you really just need to accept and decide and say, this is it. This is how I'm going to do it. This is how I'm going to bring money, abundance, wealth into my life, into my work, into my business. And so, like I said, it's really embodying that leader, being an innovator, going first, you deciding what the strategy is, you deciding how you're going to create your offers, what you're going to charge, not based on what you've seen modeled to you, but based on what you internally feel like you need to do. And I'm going to continue to talk about leadership through the end of 2024 into 2025, because this is what we're shifting into. And then with that teacher archetype, it's really about, what is your story? A lot of it is your awakening story. In my book, my first book that I wrote called But First Dream Bigger, if you haven't checked it out, I'll have it linked below. I shared my awakening journey. I shared that story that I just shared with you about really being in the tech startup space, loving my job for so long, having it be the ultimate dream job, and then wanting to transition and the ups and downs that came with that. And that's part of my teacher archetype. And I have the book for sale. It's online, because that's the way I meant to receive abundance. And so often we're just blocking that receiving because we feel like it needs to be in this other way. But if you've been trying all these different strategies out within your business and it's not working, it's time to look at, you are the one that's creating the strategy. That's really how you're going to bring abundance into your life the end of this year, moving into next year, is finding out what that strategy is. And if you need help with that, I would love to work with you. There's a couple of different ways that you can work with me. I'll have everything linked down below. If you feel called to start a podcast, I'm telling you, that's another way, as a leader, as an innovator, and as a teacher archetype, that you can really embody this. Because in the podcasting space, this is a really beautiful example. There's so many ways you're supposed to podcast, instead of just podcasting in a way that feels good to you. And for me, and I've shared this before, I've podcasted in so many different ways. I'm in my car right now. I've podcasted, I've set up a whole studio, I have a microphone. I've done video, I've done audio, I've done combinations. You get to decide. It's your podcast. How do you want to connect with people? It's such a prime example of what I was just talking about. You get to decide. And so I'm here to help guide you to what I refer to as more of your soulful podcast. How do you want it to be based on your soul, based on internal, not based on the cookie cutter, however you're supposed to do it? And yes, of course, there's strategies, there's things that work. I'm not saying that there's not things within the podcasting space that help your podcast grow and help bring in more financial abundance. There are definitely tips and strategies. But at the core of it is, how do you want it to be? And how do you tap into that? And if you're feeling disconnected from that, I would love to connect with you. You can book in with me and we can talk about it further. Like I said, everything will be linked down below. And I would invite you to share this episode with another entrepreneur who could benefit, especially an entrepreneur who is on their spiritual awakening journey. They feel called to transition to spiritual entrepreneurship. Maybe you've already transitioned to spiritual entrepreneurship, but it feels a little bit lonely, disconnected, because there's no one around you in your space. I do believe that we do awaken within our spiritual journey around people that don't necessarily get it at first. It's been so interesting for me with my journey because I'm starting to see more of my friends and family and people awakening to things as I've been talking about them. And I do believe you're meant to go first. Like the leader, you're meant to be the person that helps awaken these things in other people as well. And you might not know exactly how that's going to play out, but it's just about you tapping into the message and sharing the message. And it's going to impact people in ways that you can't even imagine. I can't tell you how many people have reached out that I wouldn't have even expected that are paying attention, that have resonated with what I've had to say. And so if that is you, I'd love to hear from you. You can come hang out with me on Instagram at The Manifesting Entrepreneur. If you're watching us on YouTube, be sure that you leave a comment, like, subscribe. If you're on the podcast, I would love a beautiful review from you. If you feel called, be sure to subscribe. And again, like I said, share this with someone who can benefit. And I will touch base with you in another episode.